G'day, hi and welcome. There's something making noise over in the corner here. Must be Marvin on the outside of the house. Oh, no, just my window stuff sucking in. It's 17 degrees, 17 degrees and 20% humidity in here. So not too bad. Got my water barrel full in there, so it's good for a little while. Minus 25 last night, I guess. It's been a what do you call it? Full moon last night, the night before. Lineup of Jupiter, Saturn, and I think obviously Venus. Yeah, so the moon was so bright the past couple of nights. Like daylight outside. Makes it hard to sleep when it's that bright out. Okay. Pepsi? So we had the carnival on Sunday or Saturday. Sunday, did the school. It was very messy. It took us a little bit longer than normal. They're having their exam time there now. But last night I finished was just about to finish chapter 6, and I ran out of paper. So I got to see. But I have to use some of the art paper down here as a. I'm at 356, 57, or was it 47? No, I think it's like 354, 300. Yeah, 300. Yeah, I'm at 347 pages in on the story already. I'm only on chapter 6. And I got just about, I should be able to finish off chapter 6 tonight. My goal is to write a story, the whole story in a month, but considering how unprepared I was, I'm doing not too bad considering, like, I'm just like kind of trying to scrounge paper. My brother gave me a paper thing that I'm not going to be out and about to be able to pick up paper for a while, lined paper. So I got to get my goal is to have the story, the first draft written by Valentine's Day, and hopefully have everything edited by March. That's going to be the hard part because I still got to figure out what program I'm going to get. I mean, I still got to get, again, very little money coming in right now. I still got to get a new laptop, something that I could type on, so I can actually do my edits and everything. And then, so I got to rewrite the story again, refine the story because I've added a lot to it, right? Like the thing is, I've added so much to it. It's going to be a big book. Like I figure, okay, one page is probably up to 250 words, but I'll ballpark low about between 180 and 200 words per page. I'll even go. I know for sure there's over 180 words on every page. So times that by 3, and you have 54,000 words already, which a novel is considered 50 to 60,000 words. Some people debate over what's a novelette, what's a novel, what's a short story, where the word count actually goes. But I'm in that territory, and I'm probably at 60 some odd thousand words there now. So either way, even revised, even if I lose 30,000 words of stuff out of there, I doubt that because I'm sure I can refine the story, but like the idea of like got to make everything so trim and proper. Yeah, I get that you want to get rid of the wordiness, but sometimes you want a little bit of wordiness in there too. Like it's like like you really want to suck people into the story, and yeah. So, Matt, that's some pretty interesting. Uh, some pretty interesting stuff that I'm at there now. So I'm looking forward to getting it done, though. You see the stack of pencils I'm getting from the school. As I was explaining to the lady at the store there, my cousin's wife. I asked her if she had any lined paper because it's a little storage because I normally don't carry anything like that. But you never know. No harm in asking. And I said I need like to, like I ran out of paper, right? So, uh, but was it like I asked that, and then it was like she didn't have that, so uh, not like didn't have all that. But I was telling her about like how I was getting my pencils, like if I'm in the classroom and there's a pen or a pencil on the floor and it's near a desk, I just pick it up and put it on the desk. But if it's out in the hallway where it's just like, okay, kids are just throwing stuff on while we're sweeping. If I sweep up like 10 pencils, I'm gonna take them, and I get like new pencils all the time. Usually, what I do is before I leave, I sharpen all the pencils I collect, and then that way at least they're sharp for a little while. Because the trick that happens is that your handwriting is usually pretty good if the pencil's sharp, but as soon as it starts to get really like thick, it's like you look back, it's just what the hell did I write, So all that. So I gotta get one investment I gotta make is a really good pencil sharpener, and then I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get. Like I went through my computers past 2 nights, and I thought I had Microsoft Office in there somewhere, but I have the like the icon for it, but I can't find. Like the second computer I got. I have three computers. One's from the Toshiba satellite from 2003. That one, it's dangerous to even hook that one up because it's like I had to take the power supply apart to rewire it because the wire actually cooked through. That'll happen. Like it gets hot after a few years, and then it'll start to bend, and then it'll short and it'll burn. And I rewired it, and it still worked, right? It's just I got these exposed wires that I'm trying not to get electrocuted by, and that one I don't think had Microsoft Word on it. But not only that, that keyboard is screwed up too. I think the enter button doesn't work and the space bar doesn't work on it. That's what happens to all my computers. At some point, like everything just stops working. It's old stuff, right? The other computer, the reason why I usually like when you guys comment on my videos, why I comment back so little. I know it seems like I'm being a jerk or whatever, but it's just you don't understand how much of a pain in the ass it is to try to hold a conversation with somebody online with half the letters not working right. And then on the other computer that I got recently last year or whatever, that one it was the opposite. It was all the other letters were every other letter wasn't working right. So it's just like okay. That's why I guess they threw out the laptop, and then it still worked. And they're like, my client was like, no, you can keep it. Just delete whatever was on there, and so I did, and whatever, and was what it was, right? I told her, I said, look, it still works. Did you want it? And she's like, no, just delete whatever's on there. You can have it. I guess because she probably knew that the keyboard was done on it or whatever. So anyway, I could get another just keyboard or whatever, but my computers are old. Like I don't know how old this what do you call it, the HP is. It's probably as old as or slightly older than my satellite 60, right? Which that one it served me well. It did. It's outdated, right? So I got to get some form of, it doesn't have to be an expensive one, but I would like to have a CD burner and something. I might buy just a CD burner external. Because that needs a CD burner to, but then again, I'd like to get a really good laptop so that I could put like a home studio on it. I'm not saying I'd ditch that, but it'd be an upgrade. I'd have to get the audio interface and all that stuff. So that might be a project for this year to do that. Depending on again, like I'll run up the credit card on that, but get something that can process, the digital recordings, and then get for the office stuff, get that audio, like the narrator, where you basically you can they call it dictate typing. They call it voice typing. There's about 100 different names for it, but basically you speak. You're like new line. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Period. Full stop. you know. And I was amused at that. Quotations. What the hell's going on? End quotations. Like whatever, however it works, right? And then you can write a book like that, but you could do it a lot faster than typing, right? And for me, I could just sit in this chair, put on the headset with the microphone, and just do that, and then instead of typing or writing, like 1,800 words a day or 2,000, I could probably get away with 4,000 words a day. That it just speeds up the process, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't care if I'm typing or if I'm narrating, right? You got to go back over it and whatever. And I can see a lot of advantages with the narrating because you won't have as many typos, but you might have miswording where it confuses one word for another, and then you just got to catch it on that, right? That's how like some authors are like putting out like 12 books a year. Like it's like, wow, how do you do it? I'd like to put out a book, my first 3 books, and then maybe 2 books a year or whatever. That'd be cool. Some authors are like, it takes people that edit said like you're looking at between 6 months to 18 months to put out a book on average, right? Some people, you can put out a book in 30 days. I'm sure there are people that can do that. But you do have to kind of refine the story though. But also there's some people like I've been working on the same book for 5 or 7 or years now. I don't think a book should take you that long. Like if you're just going at it for a little bit and then you walk away from it, you come back to it. But if you're like plugging away at it on a nightly basis, like I am, I might take one night off a week where I just don't write or do anything. If I really don't feel like it. But I write minimum an hour to 3 hours a night. So like that's fine. Like okay, I could scroll the internet, doom scroll for that 3 hours. But once I've done like my doom scrolling for the evening, it's like, okay, it's time to do something productive, right? And I find it like lying in bed in the evening, like I don't listen to music or nothing while I'm doing this. Right now I'm listening to the audio while I'm doing this. Like the second book and the third book are going to be, I'm going to outline the story just so I know where I'm going. Once I know where I'm going, then it's just fill in the details, right? Just like, okay, how do I want this chapter to, just break it down by chapter kind of thing. Like, okay, well, there's going to be probably this much. Here's the story that needs to be told. Here's the chapter here's how many chapters in this part of the story, how many chapters in that part of the story. And then each chapter covers this. And then just fill in the details, So it's a structured process. So am I a pantser or a plotter? I don't know yet because like right now, the way I'm doing it, it's almost like I'm a pantser, but the story's already been outlined for me. I know where I'm going, so that's why it's so quick. The other 2 stories haven't been written yet, right? So, like being able to listen to my voice narration of the 2060 dystopia makes writing so much faster. Now, there's one girl, she's god awful pretty. Every time I watch her videos, I'm like, she's so pretty. But anyway, what she does is she does like a 15,000 word outline of like kind of just like of the like the story. Like here's what I'm gonna have to write. I'm gonna have to write about this. Here's some of the details. Here's the like the whole plot. Like like plotting out the story, right? And that's one way to do it, but that's a lot of writing. I think if you have like a voice recorder of some sort, just do that, do the narration, and then write it down from there. You know what I mean? But then I thought, well, 2 birds in 1 stone. Try to do the voice activated writing, which it takes a skill to learn that. I can imagine the longer but at the beginning of the book, like the first 2 pages probably takes you a week. You know what I mean? Just to get it right. And then it probably after that, it's like you're doing like 10 pages a night or 20 pages a night. And by the end of the month, you have a book. Or maybe in 2 weeks, you have a book or whatever. Some people, like, they'll actually narrate a book in a day, but they'll spend like 8 hours a day doing it, right? Just let everything flow. Then go back after it and revise it. So getting the first rough draft out is the hard part, but that kind of is your outline, right? That kind of is your outline. So with the 2060 Dystopia, if that's the only book I ever write and publish, so be it, right? It's just the harder it is for me to publish, the more work I'm going to have to do myself, right? Like, the less money I have, whatever. So that's going to be one of the things, right? Is, the average person on self-publishing that, this is why I'm doing so much research on it, so I can save myself cutting a lot of corners. It's just where the confusion lies is what to spend your money on. Like everybody said, it's almost completely unanimous. You need a professional edit. No matter how good you are, you just need a different set of eyes on it and people that are, really good at editing. But what I don't want is somebody, like I don't want a playwright. I don't want somebody, ghost writing my book saying, well, you need to change this to this or else it's not going to sound good. No, I want the book to stand on my merit. You know what I mean? Even if they could give me suggestions that would make my book 100% better. The only thing I really want from an editor is actually that the editing, the spelling, the grammar, the punctuation, all that stuff, to make sure there's watch for plot holes or redundancy or contradictions. That's what I want out of an editor, right? Is to just make sure that the story's consistent and well written. Everything else, that's got to be me, right? The artwork, like the thing is I don't mind outsourcing the work. It's like, okay, well, here I'll give you a drawing of what I want, and here you make it happen. Make it happen. You know what I mean? And if that's like a couple of $100 and they can do like 10 times the job I can do, because look, your cover sells your book. They say don't judge a book by its cover. Well, people do. Almost every book there I grabbed because of the cover, or the title. You know what I mean? It was like, it's the only thing. If it looks like it's going to be in my wheelhouse, okay, I'll grab it. If it looks like it's going to be, like Officer in a Spy. Look at that cover. Isn't that nice? And your cover's got to kind of tell people what it's about, right? Like I don't need to tell you what, like even if you don't know who Tom Clancy is, you can see the submarine. You got an idea right there, right? This book I think is just gorgeous the way the cover is on this. You really got to see it. It's almost like a satin finish on everything. Bride Collector. You already know kind of what the story is going to be about. This book is really good. Sword of Kagan. Look at that. There's another cover that's even more brilliant than this one. But you don't really know what it's about, but you have an idea that it's a fantasy, right? So it is fantasy. It's pretty epic so far. I'm 200 and some odd pages in. Yeah. I got to finish that book this month. I've been reading that book for about a month now. But I really didn't start to seriously read it till about the 15th of January. We're now the 2nd of February, right? So, yeah. Anyway, you get the idea. So my cover is going to have to be, I already know what I want for 2060 Dystopia. I'm not going to follow any trends or anything like that. It's really going to be my artwork, just refined by somebody who can do it better. So the idea is it's going to have kind of like a think like 1960s cyberpunk kind of vibe to it. Like it's the only way I can describe it. Is like I could visualize it in my head. I was even going to probably try a sketch today of like how I want to plot it out, where I'm going to put the characters. So you're going to see like a bunch of the characters. You're going to see the motorbikes. You're going to see, some futuristic stuff, and then 2060 Dystopia, and then my name. I really don't want my name on the front of the book. Not for my first book. I'll put the author's name on the back of the book. I'll probably just go with my name. I don't know. Maybe I have to have a pen name or whatever. Um, you know what I mean. Like I know, like a lot of authors, like they don't use the real names. I understand why you're like stalkers and stuff like that. But I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of one of those things that. Like if somebody wants to find you, they'll find you. Like a pen name won't. Like Stephen King is not. That's not his birth name. You know what I mean? J.K. Rowling's. That's not her birth name. You know what I mean? A lot of times. So that I don't know. I'll just probably do initial things. Like whatever, just like my name and then, initials or whatever. I'm not sure I'm going to do it. But that'll be on the back. Why? Because I want the artwork to really pop. I don't want writing other than the title on the front of the book. That's it. The rest I want it all artwork. I don't want, even let's say, it goes New York bestseller. I would never want that on the front of the book. You know what I mean? I would want it on the back, but not on the front. Like you put all the detail stuff on the back. Like it's yeah, but that'll sell your book. Yeah, but no. Yeah, there's sometimes, yes, okay, it might be better advice to put that on the front, but for the amount of books that have New York bestseller or number one seller, over 1 million copies sold worldwide, like for the amount of books that have like little stuff like that, like I mean, like this guy, okay, he's got his name on there, and then he's got the title, and that's a nice clean cover. Nothing else really on there. Except for the New York bestseller, but he hit it. You know what I mean? Like you don't really see it, so more like a dividing line than that. But would it not look nicer without that little line there? I'm just saying. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Like it's like like traditionally published people are going to have those blueprints because old habits die hard, right? Old habits die hard. But the fact that I'm on chapter 6, I got 7, 8, 9, and 10 to go. Like how many chapters will the book actually be? I don't know. It's probably like 30, 40 chapters. Who knows? Once revised down and cleaned up and everything. Let's say I have a hunch I'm probably going to be sitting somewhere around 110,000 words by the time I'm to chapter 10, give or take. Maybe it's 80,000 words, maybe it's 110. Depends on how much I leave in the book, how much I leave out of the book. Like I'm at the mid hump of the book, right? So basically, I'm over the mid hump of the book, and that's usually where people run out of steam. They're just like, okay, your book drops off, and this is many authors say like your book right up around the center. That's where it starts getting dull because it's just like you want to kind of. There's a part of me that wants to hurry up and get through it. There's another part that's just like, okay, I want to, leave out this detail, leave out that detail, just to clean it up, whatever. And then you leave out too much, right? So I'm like, put it all in, cut it out after, refine it. My book so far, okay, like I haven't reread it yet. Like when I'm done writing it, I'll reread it, and I'm sure when I reread it, I'll be like, "Oh my god, what the hell did I write? Gotta get rid of that. Got to change this. I hate this. I hate that. Whatever." Yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of that. Sure, but overall, like there's no filler in there. It's like, okay, what do I write here? Just do that. Like I'm watching out that I don't hit recurring themes. In fact, I've had to. Drop some stuff off because it's like, okay, I already kind of covered that earlier, right? I don't want to go over things again. That's the stuff that, like when I get my edit and my beta readers, that's what I'm going to be wanting them to watch for. It's like, okay, yeah, but you already talked about it here like twice, 3 times. You talked about the same thing 3 or 4 times, right? Okay, you have to understand, like that story came up, made up off the top of my head. And I made 10 videos on it, and they were an hour long each, so 10 hours of your life you'll never get back. It's on my BitChute. You can go listen to it, but I'm still the book is going to be much better. The book is going to be much better because that was unedited. That was just a story off the top of my head without refinement or editing or even kind of knowing where the story was going, right? And so I thought it came out not too bad for that. Had I spent some time on it, yeah, now I'm spending the time on it. It's like, okay, the potential of this story is like epic. It's a roller coaster so far. Like it's just like the mood and the pacing. It's kind of fast, but it's just like it seems like it changes. It goes from one emotion to the next, and it's all over the place. 1 minute you're laughing, 1 minute you're in sorrow. You know what I mean? Like it's a dystopia, right? And that's the point of a dystopia, where things seem to function, but they're brilliant in the function, they're awe-inspiring, but it's completely, there's always a dark twist to everything. You know what I mean? And I think that's an interesting, and hopefully when people read the book, they kind of get that sense where it's just like the world is just, it's a dystopia, so everything is just constant chaos, right? Good, bad, ugly, right? So yeah, once I get through, I was really hoping to finish chapter 6 completely. I got like less than 10 minutes of to write. I'm at was probably going to be written down in history as the most epic food fight scene in human history. That's all I'll say about that. So that one should be fun. Yeah, like there's going to be a lot of really interesting things. Like it's not just going to be complete cyber, adventure and stuff like that. There's going to be a lot of character nuance in there and development as well. And it's just kind of like the idea is to draw parallels to now. Like the stuff that's going on now, the issues now and how they're going to manifest in the future, right? And then, of course, there's the cyberpunk element of it. But yeah, so like the story, like I say, if I only ever get the rough draft written and nobody else ever reads it, gets a chance to read it, and I never get it finished, I'll be happy that I just finished it. You know what I mean? Just because of that accomplishment. But that's not good enough for me, though. I want a novel in your hands. And I was thinking about this was to have a regular paperback, the cheapest you could possibly get, lowest of the low. Then have like a mid-sized book, think going for like something from, well, depending on how many pages it would be, probably be something thick like that. I can imagine the book is probably going to be about, it's either going to be this thick, okay, or this thick. So something like this, just a regular paperback for size 1. And then, the hardcover like that. If I want to put a third size in there, it'll be like this. So you get like 3 sizes, right? So bottom of the barrel paperback, something in the middle like this with gloss cover, beautiful. And then creme de la creme, fancy book, fancy schmancy book. So I'm thinking about doing that. Obviously, Kindle seems to be the easiest one to do that. I am looking at, like, for example, publishing houses and stuff like that. Like, I don't want to, I'm not looking for a deal. I just need somebody to help me. If I have to hire professional services to help me get my book, published, no problem. It all depends on the cost. So the average person seems to be spending between three to $4,000 to publish their book, right? That's a lot of money. And most people don't make a cent off their book. So for me, it's more of the accomplishment than I'd love it if it took off running and everybody loved it so much and whatever. And I made enough money off of one book that I could live the rest of my life. But I'm also realistic that's the odds of that happening is slim to none, right? It's like winning the lottery. But it'd be nice if I could have enough, to earn the money of the book back on top of funding another book, right? So that even let's say I only make a couple of $100. Let's say I make $300 a year off the book. Okay, we'll just say that. Okay, it would take 10 years to make that book back. Okay, so I use some of that money, put it towards the next book, so I don't really get anything out of it. And then I get another book, and it makes $300 a year. So now I'm making about $600 a year off of books. Okay, that's not too bad. Can't live off of that, but it'll recoup. Then you finance your third book, and now you're making $900 a year. So now it'll take you forever to recoup that, but it'll help you produce the following year another book, right? So maybe you spend about you find ways to cut corners. And I've seen some people completely publish books for like $500. Some people have done it all completely free. It depends. You can do everything completely free, but you have to be able to do everything else yourself. So the thing is that what I'm looking at is, like, cover art can be as simple as a picture, right? Like, you don't necessarily have to do digital for certain things. Like, for example, my second book is going to be just basically a picture. It's going to be as easy to do as possible. My third book, I would like to have really nice, fantastic art, but I could also use real things and, again, use actual photography. You know what I mean? The 2060 dystopia, I could use photography. Again, I would have to make some stuff, but it could be done. It could be done. But that one, I really, really want to do artwork for that one, for the first one. For the first one and the third one, third book. So, but I have options, is what I'm getting at. Is I have options, and the options are basically, like, keep it simple, stupid. Take photos, set things up, take photos, and the other is. Spare no expense, get a pro, blah, blah, blah. You can do things. So the thing is that I, like, the photograph thing probably won't cost me anything, right? Because it's just a matter of photographs, right? And then I could, put the, use your own free book label thing. I can do that. The marketing is going to be the trickiest one. I think the marketing is the key. And I think the approach I'm going to take is obviously keep it as cheap as possible, because you could throw a lot of money and not get any results whatsoever. I think the persistency for my first book is going to be basically just, like people get sponsors and stuff like that. And they'll say, okay, halfway through the video, like, oh, did you know you can get this? And then, everybody's doing it now because of the censorship, whatever. They're just going to sponsors. Well, why not sponsor my own book? Hey, you like this video and the content? You want to support the channel? Maybe you'd like some of my books. Like, promote my own stuff rather than making money for other companies. Like, promote my own stuff. So over time, maybe that works too. The rest is about word of mouth. It's just to get people to read it. Like, I would like to give out as many free copies as I can, not of the solid book, but of the ebook, because a lot of people say give away as much as you can, but not everybody wants an ebook. So let's say the first 10 copies of 2060 Dystopia is on me, but there's a caveat: you can only get a free copy if you critique the book. You know what I mean? That'd be a good promotion, because then there's an obligation to the free. So it's not really free. What I'm doing is paying you with a book for your time to critique, and you'd have, say, like 2 months to do that, and you'd have to do it in, like, say, YouTube form, put it on, and post it on a I don't know, either Book Talk or Goodreads or something like that. Somewhere where you're gonna where it's available, right? And that's I think is a better strategy. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but giving free books away could probably, for every one free book you give away, you might get two in return, uh, sold, right? And if you give enough free books, at some point it tends to gets a lot of buzz, and then it's the person. It's the same way CDs and tape cassettes sold when I was a teenager. It's like if somebody got a mixtape, sure it was bootleg, whatever, but you heard a song that was really cool from a band you would have never discovered. You go out and you buy their tape. You become a big fan. You go out and buy their tape, right? That's kind of the same thing. Word of mouth is what sells you. That's still the number one way by all statistics and metrics measured. Word of mouth is still the number one way to sell a book. So, kind of an interesting thing. I'm not at that phase yet, but I got to start thinking of these things now, because hopefully by the middle of the month, like I'm giving myself 3 months to write the book, but if I can have it done by the middle of the month, I can get started on the second book and the third book, to start those. And my main focus is going to be, my biggest hurdle is going to be the actual rewriting of the book into digital form, so it could be edited and stuff like that, and cleaned up. That's probably going to take another month and a half, 2 months just to rewrite that, right? I've got to read my own book probably about 10 to 12 times. I like to be able to read my own book about once a month. So let's say I read it, it's like I catch a whole bunch of mistakes and stuff like that. Okay, no problem. I'll revamp it. Okay, oh, this doesn't sound right. Read that out loud, read this out loud. And I'll even do like a new narrative of the book. Like maybe I'll offer the audiobook, free for a limited time or something like that. You know what I mean? Like something that might get people into the story. And I can actually do the audiobook for free on YouTube, right? I can do that. And here's the kicker. I might make money off of ad revenue off of that, right? So I could do that as well. So that's free, but it'd be like somebody gets into the story, it's like, oh, this story is really good. That's it. I'm not going to listen to the rest of it. I'm going to go buy the book, right? And so there's ways, like social media can sell a lot of things, this is going to sound funny, but actually Facebook Marketplace, in the book section, or whatever. It's like buy a copy of my own book and say, okay, here you go, free. Like here's 10 free copies of this, right? Someone's going to say, okay, one per person, and you just go and you read it, like again. So how many free copies can I do? Well, it depends on my budget. Like, so let's say every 10 copies I can print one free book. Okay, so let's say I sell 100 books. Well, I'll give out 10 free copies. Okay, sure. Maybe for that same 10 books, I could give out 20 free ebooks, right? And maybe 2 or 3 audiobooks, whatever it is. And I'll do that as a promotion thing for the first little bit, just to get the book going, right? For my first book, because nobody knows who I am. They don't know what the book's about. I'll give a brief description. What I'm thinking is going to happen is if I do get, if my strategy works out the way I think it is, because again, the book is a critique of woke, right? So it is a critique of the progressivism that we're dealing with now in the future, right? And the globalists and all that. Okay, and where they're taking us. So the thing about that is, someone's going to read it, they're going to be offended by the book. My goal isn't to offend; it's more to kind of point out where we're going to be going, right? So some people are going to read it and they're going to be vitriol to it because they're going to take it as a personal attack. Because there's probably a lot of characters in there that are going to describe a lot of people, in not so nice of ways, right? So obviously, like I'm going to probably get some hate on this one. If I'm lucky, I do. And again, the idea is Because what sells a book more than, oh, this is a great book. This was such a fantastic book. Buy it, read it, blah, blah, blah. It's great. Okay, yeah. Or does this book really deserve all the hate? You know, people are going to click on that. You know, look, you know what sold probably most of the copies of Morning Glory Milking Farm? Don't look it up. Don't. Now you're probably going to go look it up. You're going to be gross. You're going to be grossed out. It's a bestiality romantasy is the best. It's a fantasy bestiality romantasy written by a black gay guy about a woman who basically has relations with a minotaur. Like that's the best way. Like okay, if I ruin the book for you, good. But that can exist, right? Not the like how many people bought that just to hate read it? You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, would I ban a book like that? I'd probably never read a book like that. I would not recommend uh, uh, to read a book like that. But I understand who that book is for, right? And they probably would have never discovered that book, and there's probably a gazillion books just like it that they would never have heard of if it wasn't all the fuss made about how horrible this thing was, right? So, like, progressives would probably see all the right wingers complaining about this book, and they're like, okay, I gotta go get it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's right up my alley. Yeah, it's like Minotaur bestiality. Yeah, here we go. There's some sick people out there. The women are the ones raving about it. Oh, it's so edgy. It's so. I'm like, it's these like leftist women. I'm just like, yeah, they're sick. They're completely sick. It's a litmus test. It is. 2060 dystopia would be the other side of the coin to that. Like it's like, yeah. There's no romantasy whatsoever in the book. I'm not writing. I'm writing it for both male and female audiences. Um, it's this idea of just pandering to, like, look, everybody's trying to get onto this romantasy kick, which yes, it is a big chunk of the market, but the problem is, and it's the same like with music. I don't see writing a book as competition. Like, oh yeah, but you're competing against everybody else's book. Yeah, if you're trying to copy their books and their storylines, like the amount of people that are trying to rewrite Lord of the Rings or rewrite Harry Potter, yeah, okay, or a Stephen King novel, trying to compete with him. Um, and J.K. Rowling, she said again, love her, hate her, whatever. Um, uh, she said, like, look, it's okay to take influences and incorporate them into your writing, the authors you like the most and stuff like that. And that's fine, but you use that as a discovery tool for yourself. You know what I mean? And I understand what you're saying there. And for me, I'm not doing that. I'm really going at it from the 2060 critique of a man waking up out of a coma in 2060, right? What would he see? Like at that point, you're not on, okay, how do I make it sound more like Stephen King, or how do I make it sound more like, at that point, it's like, what the hell's going on? It's like, what's happening to me? Where am I? Why are all these people like this? Like what would your initials react? That's what, so I'm writing it from my point of view as a slightly different character. That's all I'm doing. So that's why that part of it is easy for me. That you know what I mean. But yeah, so I got a lot of strategies I'm going to try there. The editing phase for like the second manuscript. As soon as I'm done, I know a lot of people say as soon as you're done your first manuscript, walk away from it for like a month, 2 months, whatever, and then go back at it. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna just keep plugging away at it. I understand what they're getting at. That okay, yeah, like you need to step away out of it. So when you come back, you got fresh eyes, fresh mind, and then you catch a lot more that way. But I think I'm gonna have a pretty good idea, when I do the like start rereading it and rewriting it, of what I'm gonna want to hear and what I'm gonna want to whatever. So the key is if I can get it written and do as much spell checking and grammar checking. It's the grammar that I'm more concerned about, because yeah, I know like most people, you can use grammar fairly well, But I'm even starting to study up on that, how to use it properly, because that's when you catch yourself. It's like, okay, well, like, again, the more you know, right? But it's a lot of work for one person to do, and sometimes you just need to have somebody different looking at it, because they'll catch things that you won't. And it doesn't matter how good of an author you are. This is what all the professional authors will tell you. No matter how good you think you are, you're not going to catch it all. Because you're mounted on a rail, kind of. Like, you're set in your ways, and things that you concern yourself about. And a lot of editors seem to be saying this, is that the people give you a book and they'll say, pay extra attention to this, and this. And it usually goes, that's usually not the problem. What the problem is the things that they're, because they've, those parts usually turn out okay because they spent so much concern on it, right? It's the stuff that blindsides them, that they, like a weak point in their writing that they don't realize. You know, like words that people use over and over again. Okay, like, and again, trying to make every sentence completely unique is hard. You know what I mean? So cleaning up sentences, like, you want to clean up the sentences without taking stuff out of the book if you can help it. Like, only take out what you need to take out. Like, if it's more wordy or too repetitive on the wordiness, then yeah, take it out. Like, make your point, move on, right? But make sure it's clear. And yes, you got to give the audience a lot of leeway for their own imagination. You don't have to completely describe everything to such extreme detail. Some books are like that, some books are not. I'm trying to, more just give you the scenario and then let your imagination take the rest of it. To describe everything to a T, every single character and stuff like that. I'll give you the overall, and your imagination will paint the character. Um, and some characters I don't give you very much detail on. Like, for example, there's some doctors in there. The doctors are just referred to as doctors. You get no names or nothing, and that's going to bug people like you wouldn't believe. And that's why I did that. So it's like, well, which doctor am I talking to? Doesn't matter. It's just doctor. Like, it's like, like, is it Doctor One or Doctor Two? I know there's two of them, but which one? Doesn't matter. That's going to drive people nuts. I know that's going to be picked up on, but I want you to pick up on that. Why? It's a dystopia. It's a dystopia. It's like, like, the doctors are just, they're just, they're all business. They're robotic almost. They're not, they're almost lifeless in that sense, where they're just ruthless efficiency. That's all they are. And it's to give you the sterility of the world that they're in, right? And you're going to get that impression of the place. It's like, there's not a lot of great descriptions of everything in the book, in terms of the cities or whatever, the places that they're in. But the description you get is like very sterile. Like, it's very, oh, like, void of anything. This has got to be a horrible place to live. Like, it's just so. And that's also a critique of modern architecture. You know what I mean? Like, modern architecture is sterile. It's dull. Like, it has no character or shape to it. It's just this straight edges everywhere. You know what I mean? Which is an aesthetic to some degree, a modern aesthetic. But on the other hand, it's also void of character. Like, think modern house versus Victorian era house. No comparison with, what's more inspirational, right? Like, like, as soon as I say Victorian era, you've already got the 12-foot ceiling room with all the paintings on the wall, and the oak tapestries everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. You've already got that. You've already got the character of it, right? Yeah. So that's where I'm at on that. Today, I do want to play around with the some recording today. I'm going to do some reading, as I'm normally going to do. It's supposed to start snowing in the next couple of days, but if it doesn't, I don't have anything to do till Wednesday and Sunday. So the kids are in their exams there now, so the gym is all, like, almost all the desks are in the gym. So who knows? Maybe Sunday I could be helping Paul bringing all the desks back to the classrooms. They got, because of the stairs and stuff, we got to take them all down, kind of like one by one. There's a couple hundred desks in there, right? So Well, maybe not that many. Maybe two. I don't think there'd be 200 desks in there. Maybe 100, 150, maybe. I don't know. The gym's half full anyway, so it's like little desks everywhere. The kids. Yeah. So yeah, uh, the cats are getting along up there. I was watching the Blue Jays this morning, and the chickadees are, feeding out of the outside cat bowl there. And I was talking to my dad there, and I looked over and I saw Meow Meow on the couch. So Missy was at my feet, and she was like, kind of like, she doesn't like Meow Meow yet, right? But they were sort of getting along. So Meow Meow was on the couch like this, and she's an outdoor cat, eh? So it's like she's like this. She's looking at me. She's like, you could tell she was dozing off. Poor girl was like minus 25 last night there. We'll let her in for a little bit, and then after a while, she goes back outside. She is technically a stray cat, but yeah, she's pretty tame. She's pretty nice. She's getting fat, but constantly like she eats probably about 8 times a day. I'm sure. Between her and Marley, I don't know who's more of a piglet. Um, Marley's my timeshare dog. Yeah, she was over yesterday too, and all three of them sitting there, you know, getting fed. You know. We're trying to put Marley on a diet though because she's getting too fat, and that's all. But yeah, it was nice to see the Blue Jays this morning. But yeah, and all that the chickies, they were all out. So the sun's out, so they're out. So I guess they're gonna feed, and then if you really see the birds like really going crazy with the feeding there, there's a storm coming. I didn't see Marvin down here yet. I seen Marvin a couple of days ago. He was out there, you know, going through a sugar crash or whatever, crashing out there, just sitting there like that. And I'm like, Marvin, what are you doing? And I haven't seen him since that. So Meow Meow has not been down here. Uh, I was talking to my uncle at my uncle next door there. He was at the carnival there. He's like, yeah. He says I opened up the. He goes, I hope you don't mind. I opened up the front of the laneway for you. He goes, I saw you dragging the garbage can over the hump there. He goes, I thought maybe the plow might hit it, so I moved it back. I goes, oh, thanks. I said, no, I don't mind at all. So that was nice of him to do that. Saw my other uncle and aunt, my cousin, who's the bass player for the Midnight Ramblers there. That's the name of their band. It's kind of like a country rock band, so to speak. More country than rock, but his mom and dad was out. My uncle Velmer, I was asking my dad, I said, how old is he? He goes, he's in his 80s. So he was out. My aunt Lil, she's got to be in her late 70s by now. Yeah, so it's like, it was good to see them out anyway. So I was like, yeah. Pretty much everywhere I go, there's family. So my cousin Richard, my aunt, uncle, and my cousin Richard were there as well. And like half the people at the carnival were related to me some way. Like at one in this town, like one in like two, 1 in 3 people are basically related to me somehow. Yeah. So, but it was a good night out. There was probably maybe 50, 60 people out. So that was good. Kind of break up the winter monotony. I only stayed out till like quarter to or till about 11:30, maybe 20 to 12 when I got home. For 12, I was in bed. Then I got up at 7. I was out the door for 8. Paul and I off going to. I shoveled out the church there, so everything was good. And then we cleaned the school, came back, or stopped, had a pizzin, and that's our Sunday ritual is to stop and have a pizzin at the Flashpost restaurant there. So that was pretty good. And then I came back home. I took a power nap like I couldn't believe, and then I started writing my book. What went on the internet, and then I started writing my book. And I'll do probably the same thing again tonight if I can find enough damn paper. That's the thing that's scaring the shit out of me. I was like, I need paper. I do have photo paper for my printer, but I don't want to write on that. Like I'll do it if I have to, but it's like, that stuff's expensive. My mom bought that a long time ago. My printer, I got to get that thing working so I can print out my manuscript. Like I'm not gonna sit there and read my manuscript on on the internet. Like that's too much. Like I'll have to do it, for the first round of editing. But you know, yeah, I could go to the library and ask them if they have like a laptop or something that I could borrow with that on. I'm gonna have to ask my aunt because I know you can literally get. Speaking of VR goggles, VR goggles are in my book, big time, right? One of my characters in the book. I won't tell you who this character is because she's very special in the book. She's somebody who doesn't exist yet. So, but VR goggles is a big part of who she is, so to speak. We'll just say that. Um, but anyway, yeah, they basically at the library you could take out VR goggles. I haven't tried them yet. I don't really have an inclination to want to. Like I'll put them on, try them, just see it. Like I see people like they almost fall over every time they put them on. But yeah, but I'm gonna ask guys like, do you guys like actually like loan out like laptops with like Microsoft Word or something on it or something like that? Because maybe I have that. Maybe I have that act because they used to have computers in there for everybody, right? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm gonna have to ask my aunt about that. And if that's the case, I'll be like, can I check out the laptop for 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it is, whatever it's going to take me, or a month just to write the book? And if she says yes, I mean, I have my printer. Like I could print at the library. There's no problem printing at the library. The problem with it is it's 15 cents a copy, like a page, right? So like that's even if it's double sided. I mean, you're talking a couple of hundred pages there. It's like I'm not gonna be doing that. I'll do that here, and then I'll have my manuscript. But I'm only gonna print that out after the editing phase. So anyway, all right. Anyway, that's what I got to say about that. Hope you guys. I don't know if you guys care about it or not, but I'm excited about it. And guys, like I say, you don't have to start writing and stuff like that, but it is an interesting thing to do, even if you took 2 years, 3 years. I don't care how long, but you should at least start reading one book. I got most of these books for free. That's the kicker. It's like I got almost all these books for free. That was a gift. That was a great gift so far. The Sword of Kagan. This was my mother's Bible, whatever. That was free. All those books were free except for 10 of them. I bought $20 worth of books, $2 a book, $2 a book. Say that 10 times fast. But just get a book and start reading, like 2 pages a night. Just start with 2 pages a night. That'll still be a book and a half a year if you read only 2 pages a night. If you read four, that's 2 to 4 books a year. Depends on how many pages, right? But just get something. Go to one of those little book exchanges. They're all over the cities and stuff like that. Go to your local library, see if they're throwing out any books. These are all pretty much from the library out in Cass, and they keep replenishing books too. So I'm going to start checking it on maybe a weekly basis to see if there's anything new. And I'll, once I get like to say like 2 or 3, maybe 400 books, I'll stop. You know what I mean? But because I want to make sure I can read the books, throughout my life. Like before I die. You know what I mean? Like so. If I could read 10 books a year, I'd be happy with that. But I have no set goal. If I read 2 books a year, fine. Once I get my bookshelves, once the bookshelves are full, because a lot of these books, once I'm done reading them, like I already know I'm not keeping probably 3 of those books down there. I know I'm not going to be keeping those. It's hard to say, right? Like you may or may not, right? So you'll read a book, and if it's good, yeah, okay, but I'll never read it again. Okay, give it to somebody else who can enjoy it. I didn't pay anything for them, so there's I don't mind giving them away when I'm done. If I really, really, really like, I know I'm keeping this book and this book for sure. This was a gift. That obviously was my mother's, God rest her. So I'm basically hanging on to that for my sister because she left it to my sister, but my sister doesn't really have the room, in her small apartment. So I'm reading that. This was a gift, so I'll keep that forever. Plus, I'm going to read that book again. It's really good. This one, I'm probably going to keep this one too. That one's really good. The rest of them, I don't know. Probably not those. So I've got like basically 11 books that I'm currently reading. I don't read them all every day, but I read most of them every day, at least 2 pages out of every one of them, and then about 10 or 20 pages out of the main book, and then the secondary book, 5, 6 to 10 pages, whatever I can get away with.
And then on Fridays, I just go for broke, see how much I can read in a day. Anyway, there we go.